And
Yes.
we're here to greet someone who's a lot younger than ourselves, but exploring naturism as well.
Oh, more than exploring, she's a foundational part, I believe. She was a leader of Young Naturist Association of America, and she's a writer and an activist and a lifelong third-generation naturist. She grew up going to a naturist club called Rock Lodge with her family in northern New Jersey. She co-founded and ran and organized an organization called Young Naturist America with her partner Jordan Bloom from 2010, us just until last year. And I remember seeing that you guys had decided to shut it down, and I was like, oh, that's too bad. But I understand the work involved, and sometimes you just have to come to that place. So welcome. This is Felicity Jones. Am I saying that right? Felicity?
Felicity, yeah.
Felicity, yeah.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. Great to talk to you guys.
Oh, it's wonderful connecting with you in a little bit of pre-talk that we've had. You were asking us about our beach and things like that, and getting to know us too. And it's nice to talk to another naturist, and that understanding of kind of where you belong on a beach or a place for a time anyway, of what you choose for close to where you live, where you get to recreate in nature. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I wish we had more beaches, more public beaches, more public land for us to use for nature's use in the States. And we know that most people support nature's having their own section of a beach or using a certain part of public land. But yet the laws do not support us, or the government officials do not support us. So it's really interesting to learn about your beach, about 3 Mile Beach, and the problems you face there, and how you go about making it an official and accepted place in the community.
Yeah, it's definitely a step-by-step process for us here, and learning a learning curve and that sort of thing. And I think that's what comes to every community if they really believe in their beach and they believe in naturism. And I think like you believed in it, so you started an organization because that was how you could reach out. So
we got a slight freeze up there, so if people believe about, there she is, she's back.
We're back with a little blip. So so it's finding that place that's if you believe in it, you need to stand for it, right? Like I think we've learned that. And people that have been involved in naturism, they know that if you believe in it, you got to take part of it. And
it definitely takes a dedicated group of individuals just to maintain a beach as a naturist environment, let alone starting a beach or making it official or opening a new one or preventing one from being closed. All of that's part of it too. But I think people don't realize at least in the States, how easy it is for a beach to be taken away. Just somebody in the parks department or the government is I don't like that. That's there, and I want that gone. I'm just gonna make up that there's criminal activity there, for example. They do that, and they just falsify. They just make up excuses to close it, and they're yeah, you're done. Even though it's been around for 40 years, and there's thousands of people here every weekend, but we're not gonna let you do this anymore. So crazy. So crazy.
Yeah, we had that further up the valley. Before our thing happened at 3 Mile, they kind of budged the beach out there, that they had a nude beach up in Kelowna area. And they created development, and they cut the trees down, and they put that the dog park go right there. And so they found every way. Then they put up a little sign saying you'd be ticketed if you're nude. Then we found out there's rumor that the beach was actually left by a family to the city on conditions it would always stay a nude beach. So you go, okay, who decided to no longer follow the rules of law, right? Who's deciding that the law runs how their ideology works as opposed to what standardly is. So these are things we've had to learn and look to, and I think it's important for naturists and for everyone to understand their law, and that's it's something we have to take to our own responsibility. That's the biggest thing I've learned from our journey here is doing that, and that's kind of where we want to take things eventually with this, is helping other people. And then we do write that on the front of our webpage. We do help people see how the courts and how judges have kind of decided, right? So that they can get a relaxed, because first thing people, when they hear about nudity, they go into fear. I've found people who aren't relative to it, people who haven't been exposed to it in any way. I mean, I grew up, we weren't in a nude family, but we were very close to that. I mean, we ran around in our gaunch, it was like no big deal, whatever. We just called it our gaunchies, and everybody ran around in the morning and got ready for school, and you just did life, right? And there was 7 kids and 2 parents. So we never took to any shame that way around the body. There was shame around how we dressed publicly more so, but people who haven't been exposed, usually their mind goes right away to some ideology of shame or fear or judgment or pornographic ideologies is what I've found.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of misconceptions about, people make assumptions, they don't really know anything. And they just think we're all having orgies on the beach.
Yeah. No kidding. Oh, you're a swinger, are you? No, I'm a naturist. There's a big difference there. Swingers don't need our help, I say. They've got swingers.com, they got swingers ventures, they got whatever. They don't need naturist help. The naturists don't need their help. They're doing good on their own without us.
Yeah, it's part of the naturist work, is educating people and fixing that problem of people being fearful of it, and trying to get people to understand what it really is versus what they believe in their minds.
Yeah, what they've been decided or programmed or taught. So, okay, with that, so I noticed on your site you go into the various types, you get into definitions, and Irene and I were saying we wanted to talk about that one day, and I thought this is perfect because you've got them right there. So you give us what the difference of a nudist, a naturist, and then nude recreation, which is interesting because I never thought of it as a separate thing actually. So share with us those differences.
Well, I first should say these are my own kind of definitions that I've come up with, and I know from my own experience of talking to people on a nude beach that if you ask them what's a nudist and what's a naturist and what do these terms mean to you, you'll get a different answer from every person. There's really and even from we've talked to leaders in the movement and asked them what is a nudist, what's the definition, and they all gave a different answer. So it's kind of an issue in the movement that there aren't set definitions, but in any case, I define a nudist as somebody who likes being naked in a non-sexual setting, basic definition. And I consider a naturist to be somebody who also enjoys that, but then also has a philosophy behind it. They believe in naturism being about acceptance and respecting the environment, respecting other people. And it's not so much of a focus on the nudity. It's a whole way of life and a way of thinking about the world. And nude recreation is a term that the major organization here, ANR, likes to use that term. I don't, because sometimes you say that term to some people, what is nude recreation? In their mind, they immediately go to sex.
Yeah, immediately. That's the only way they think about it, yeah.
It's just a kind of a mystery around that term. I think most people hear that and not really understand right away what that is. Whereas more people have heard of nudism and have some idea of what a nudist is. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure how I wrote it on the site, but nude recreation is just doing activities in the nude in a non-sexual way, obviously, and doing anything from sports to tennis to swimming to whatever.
Right. So someone can exactly partake of nude recreation, but not necessarily be a nudist per se.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, maybe not.
Well, I mean, you never,
Depends-
I don't know. Yeah.
It depends on how a person defines themselves, really, in fact.
Right. Right.
It's really an identity, actually. And like some people say, like, oh, a nudist means you want to be naked all the time. And I'm not a nudist because I only go to a nude beach once in a while. I think, yeah, it's up to the person to identify that way. But yeah, you could do something that might be nude recreation. Yeah, not and do it one time in your life. And does that make you a nudist? No, I don't
No,
think
yeah,
so.
or a few times in your life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If you're doing it continually, it's a weekly thing, then you're a nudist in the hiding. Just say you
yeah,
are.
it's an identity. I prefer the term naturist myself. Like that's the term I predominantly use, and I like that it has the root word is I consider to be like nature. Others say it's like natural, but
Yeah.
I like being naked in nature like more than anything else. And I think like we need to be more aware of environmental issues in the naturist movement and take that into account with how we treat, you know, the planet. So,
Totally.
um,
Yeah, you were sharing that I'm a little bit that way too. I really want to move at some point in there. I've always been an environmentalist in that way too. So you're sharing that and you write about that being a writer. You get to write about that and about zero. You said you live a zero waste lifestyle.
yeah,
That's phenomenal. And congratulations. And tell
yeah,
us how you do that.
yeah. It's a whole new way of living to some degree because you just live by the principles of like reduce, reuse, recycle. And I mean, the most basic things you could do is like use a reusable water bottle and reusable bags. And I get frustrated because most people don't do that.
Yeah.
But you take it to another level is like zero waste. Like people will compost all of their food scraps, you know, anything natural, paper, vegetable, whatever, and you reduce a lot of I find I reduce a lot of trash doing that, and just making different consumer choices, not buying the product that's wrapped in a whole lot of unnecessary plastic packaging.
Right.
I use stainless steel straws. I carry like a stainless steel spork with me so I don't have to use like plastic utensils. I take, you know, a reusable cup. I'll even like bring it to a party because most people will serve drinks in plastic cups, and I come with my own cup. And so it's things like that. And I feel like the naturist movement needs to do a lot more. I mean, I know clubs here that nudist clubs that are still using like styrofoam, for example, when they serve food, and that's such a terrible material for the environment. Like it's well known, and it's not even good for people. So I rant about this on my website, and like there's a festival here. Every year they serve on styrofoam, and every year I've complained about it. But yeah, I want to see the clubs doing more to protect the environment and like make that more of an issue because we nature's like a lot of people are like me. They want to continue enjoying Mother Nature, hiking and camping and enjoying a beach. And if you want that, then like you gotta help. You gotta help clean
Yes.
up. Do your
Exactly.
part.
Yeah, we should focus everybody. They've got those new bamboo plate companies, or not. It's not bamboo leaf, or it's a leaf. It's like they're using a leaf, and I thought that'd be perfect for us to affiliate for naturists. Though I wondered, well, would that leaf then poison our environment, even though if it's from another country? But yeah, good. You're throwing it
Yeah,
away. At least it's all going into one area of landfill. Then I guess I'm not sure.
yeah. There's more and more eco-friendly products and different considerations of what you use. I mean, yeah, like I want places to use like just paper instead of plastic. Like that's even
That
that.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Let alone like going to like the expensive like bamboo stuff. I mean, at least just get paper. Anyway.
Well, sure. Exactly. I'm saying, yeah, there is some new companies coming out with some alternatives even to paper, right? So it's just it'd be cool. because they're supposed to be tossable, but instead of getting styrofoam or things like that.
Yeah, there's like bamboo cutlery and like wood cutlery now to use instead of plastic utensils.
And there is some plastic. There is some plastic made from potatoes. Have you seen those?
Yeah, like, well, I'm sure I have. I mean, I've come across some that are compostable and made from corn or vegetables or some kind of starch, vegetable starch or something like that. And those are better. Those are definitely better than the plastic ones.
So you got to, I was reading your bio there, and you got to be on Project Runway, and you've done some TV in that aspect. So what was that like for you as a naturist to represent in the big world of commerce on TV?
Yeah, that was really fun. It was a really great experience. The designers were great. You know, we talked to the producers quite a bit before agreeing to do it. And, you know, we wanted to make sure it was really going to represent us in a positive way, that it wasn't going to be like, haha, look at the naked people kind of thing, you know, poking fun at us and whatever. And even then, you kind of never know how it's going to turn out in the editing room. But we saw the episode and we were happy with it. And, like, the designers were like, one of them was took a bit of time to get used to and seeing a bunch of naked people on the runway, and was like, really couldn't handle it for like 10 minutes. He was just like put his head in his hands and just was kind of didn't even want to look at us. He was just so embarrassed. But for the most part, like, they were so cool about it. And like Alyssa Milano is body positive and breastfeeding activist, so she was on board with our group and what we were doing. And so it was like great exposure, no pun intended. And we like hopefully introduced like 1 million people to naturism that might have never even known it existed before. So we love that.
That's awesome. It was beautiful. I did catch a couple of clips. I don't think I caught the whole show, but it was going viral there for a little while, and different clips of it. And I thought, wow, that was I know who she is. I was like, woohoo, good for her.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure you can still find it online, but on the streaming service or something. But yeah, it was a couple years. When was it? It was in 2016, I think.
Yeah.
So it was great.
So was it with your Playboy magazine, was that writing that you did for them, or was that another interview? Or
in Playboy, you said?
You said Playboy magazine in your bio. Yeah.
Right. That was no, I didn't write it. It was a reporter, a journalist who spent time with us and interviewed us and did a whole write-up about. It was basically about young adults and naturism, and what naturism looks like today, you know, who's participating in it and what's going on with the different young adult groups and whatnot.
That's great, because that's a community, I think, also that exposed correctly, you know, they're kind of exposed correctly to naturism is I think they're hungry for that community too. That community's hungry for something a little broader also. So it's great to see, you know, that you're involving yourself in those sort of things and putting yourself out there, because so many people, I mean, naturism it's a really intimate thing. And so, I mean, we have a lot of people on our beach who they don't want no one to know they're there. And some of them can't because of their jobs. And, you know, if somebody finds out they're a naturist, they may lose their jobs and things like that. So I always love this when people can, you know, have that courage to step forward, or they've created their life to step forward and say, you know, this is who I am and this is who I believe in. And so what drives you to educate about naturism and to be a naturist educator?
Well, I've been doing this my whole life, and it was like an amazing way to grow up as a kid. I think kids are naturally into running around naked in the woods, and as you grow up in this way, there's so many benefits to, you know, living in this lifestyle. And once I was out of college, like, I found myself back at Rock Lodge and really loved being there again. And like once my partner approached me about starting an organization, I was interested, and I was like, yeah, you know, there's really, at the time there were very, very few people my age, like people in their early 20s in the club. And I was like, I want more people to be able to experience this and know it's here and, you know, experience the benefits of it. So so yeah, I partnered up with Jordan to start this organization, and we figured, hey, you know, we'll get a lot more young people involved. We'll take this to the mainstream, you know, promote it in mainstream online places, like, so it's not just in the Ann Arbor Bulletin and like, you know, it in the usual nudist places, and also promote the kind of naturism that we wanted to promote, which is like that it's not just about being naked. Like we wanted to promote acceptance and have an inclusive group where all people feel accepted, and yeah, and promote our values and ethics.
Nice. That's, yeah, because that's important. The values and the ethics, I think, is the foundation of naturism. So that's awesome. So being that, especially around body positive, you're involved in the body positive photography project at Gunnison Beach. So yeah. I love that. Yeah, share more. What inspired that project, and what?
Yeah, I did that I started last summer. I put out a call for people to participate and be photographed on the beach, and the whole idea was to basically, for one thing, to to try to dispel like common misconceptions about the nude beach. You know, people who think that it's sexual, people who think that the only people who go to the nude beach are quote unquote the ones you don't want to see naked. And so in large part it was inspired by that phrase, which I've heard a number of times, you know, in pop culture and TV shows and magazines, and people joking about it like that. And you know, it's a problematic statement, because the nude beach is like not some beauty contest. You don't have to be like some thin hot model to be there. And it's also not about going there to look at hot naked people. It's not what it's for. And there's all different kinds of bodies at the beach. So I wanted to show people like, hey, this is what people who go to the beach actually look like. This is, you know, introduce them, because I interview them and ask them questions about themselves and their experience on the beach, and what they do for a living, and, you know, showing people that nudists are like everyday people. They're just like you and me, and they're not ashamed to show their body either. Like you can see, get a taste of like the body diversity that you would find at a nude beach. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, that was the basic idea behind the project.
That's awesome. So what was I going to say there? There was, it slipped my, sorry. Technology, and it loses on you. Sorry.
How have you found people your own age responding to your message?
I find that people are generally like open-minded. I don't usually get a negative reaction like when I tell people I'm a naturist or tell them about what I do. I feel like usually people are curious and they ask questions. I mean, you were bringing up before about like people don't want to tell others because they're afraid of losing their jobs. And I understand that, but at the same time, I feel like it's paranoia. Like, I'm willing to bet that the majority of people like would not be fired or face negative repercussions of their job for being a nudist or going to a nude beach. Like, I think people are a lot more accepting of that than you might think.
I think so too, and I think you're right on the paranoia, and I think how the world reacts to them is by their level of paranoia about it, actually.
Yeah, there's that too, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people always say, like, no, we need to be open about this, because otherwise how are we ever going to be accepted and make this normal?
Yeah, because if you accept yourself as a naturist, then when you talk about it, people are going to hear that acceptance. And that kind of, I think that naturally puts people in a little more ease or fear, depending on their beliefs, right? But yeah, I think that's how you get your reactions from other people, though. Because if people don't hear any shame or in you or whatever that they can kind of play on, then they've got nothing to go on. So you can just express yourself. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I find also like the mainstream is almost like doesn't even realize, like people outside of the community don't even realize what a stigma there is, because like if they think about it, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, I don't care that people do that. Maybe it's for me, maybe it's not, but like that's fine. And they don't realize that like so many nudists are like afraid of losing their jobs, or afraid of like being disowned by family members, or like like they don't want to deal with these possible negative repercussions from it. So yeah, although at the same time, like I understand, like you don't want to risk your livelihood.
Yeah, well, that's
But,
what most people's concerns are. Yeah.
yeah, but it definitely would help if people just kind of relax about it and just like tell more people in your life, and I mean don't let it get to the point where you have to be paranoid and you have to that you can't enjoy yourself so much because like you're afraid of what so and so is going to think.
Exactly. So you grew up in this and you got to, so you kind of watched reverse from us. Like we found this, right? And then we came into this because we were taken out of that, running around as a kid naked phase and told to get dressed. And then, so now you've had that. What's the biggest thing you've kind of noticed when people come back in to that world and accept naturistic world that you live in? What's the biggest thing you notice is that shifts for them?
You mean people who are new to it?
Yes.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, I mean, in running an organization, like we introduce a lot of new people to Naturism who'd never had a social nude experience before. And I realized in doing that, like just how much of a difference it makes for people to come into a naturist environment and see all different kinds of bodies and people who look so different from each other, and like they have their flaws, they have wrinkles and cellulite and extra fat and whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like nobody is coming in, like nobody's staring at me. Everyone looks comfortable with themselves, and like, after a couple of minutes, like they start to relax, and they can, after that, like hopefully more easily accept themselves just from having that experience.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed when people come in is they're looking for that acceptance from the community before they can accept themselves in that manner. It's almost like it's just that natural thing, I guess, where you look to your community. Even a child looks to their community, right, or their surroundings, their family. So I've noticed that with people too. They'll look, as long as everyone's in acceptance, then they can find that place within themselves and then sit with it.
Yeah, and it can make such a big difference initially, because really, like, when do you see naked bodies, well, like real naked bodies, like real people who haven't been airbrushed or photoshopped, who don't all fit, one single standard size, and like you can see them, and each person having their own unique body. Like, when do you get exposed to that? Because normally, like, people are clothed, they're dressed, so, and they have clothes that are like, shaping them into the basic same shapes, and you don't see like that somebody has cellulite in their thighs. Like, you just wouldn't really see these things in the everyday world. And of course, like the media and advertising and movies are all presenting like the same beautiful people. Like, so yeah, I mean, you can get this experience too from a locker room where everybody's like, maybe women are walking around naked. But a nature setting is unique, you know, it's like a special kind of place where people are really not judging each other on their appearance. And yeah.
You spend enough time there, and actually I've noticed you come off the beach and you kind of think, gee, people look funny in clothes.
Yeah.
I really weren't made for clothes. Why we convince ourselves of this? But yet, you know, I appreciate clothes. Like I said, I'm also a naturist, because I tell people, look, I'm not a nudist. I'm not interested in going shopping naked. You know how many accidents that would cause? I mean, come on. You know, like people just can't, you know, we're not there. It's not. So yeah, that's the fun of it all.
Yeah.
So true.
So reading your blog and your general perception of global naturist community, I noticed you feel it's important for everyone to be accepted and who desire that acceptance. And you especially, I know you're saying you're still finding there's still within our own communities, we're still not accepting fully, because our world's changing. We now have larger communities. We have the gay and LGBT communities. And so share with us that a little bit, what you see there, what you'd like to see improved a little in the world of acceptance.
Yeah, after running this organization for a couple of years, like I realized over time that the community is really not as accepting as I once thought it was. It's for a long time, like, and you can understand it because in the 60s and 70s, you know, naturists had to fight even harder to be accepted. And it was like, we want to look as normal as everyone else as possible. And at the same time, you know, the LGBT community was fighting for acceptance. And naturists were, you know, not really going on their side. They were like, no, we're a family activity, they're kids, and this is not sexual at all. And like taking it to, you know, that level of like I use the word heteronormative, and a lot of the clubs are still like going by that heteronormative approach, because we're going to give discounts to male-female couples, and we're not going to say anything about male-male or female-female couples. And we're also not going to say anything about LGBT people being like welcome at our facility. I mean, transgender people, like most clubs, they'd have no idea if they're going to be welcome or not. And I don't blame them for questioning if they would be, because the sad thing is that they wouldn't be at every single club. We had a friend who was, when she was cisgender, and she became transgender, she returned to the same club after she transitioned and was found she was no longer welcome.
Oh, wow.
And like we fought with that club like real hard. We're like, you have to accept this person or we're going to take you down. Like, this is not acceptable. This is discrimination. Like, we're going to come after you legally. Like, you have to accept this person. What is wrong with you? And I would like to say that's like an isolated incident and that would never happen again. Like, you know, that's just something that doesn't happen. But I know that there are other clubs that would not just welcome somebody to come right in if they were transgender and just showed up. And part of this is like an education problem. Like, clubs have never had a transgender person visit ever, and they don't understand it. They don't know what it means to be trans. And so I see like there needs to be education and there needs to be more dialogue around this problem. And like, we have gay nudist clubs in the States, and like for years they've been just doing their own separate thing, you know, completely isolated from the other clubs. And like the NR only just accepted a gay club into their network like a year or two ago. Like, they've never had a gay nudist club in their network before like a year or two ago. Like, I don't know, that's crazy to me. And like, like, what are we doing here? Like, so, yeah, and there's the gender issue, you know, like clubs discriminating against single men.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that a lot. Do you think that's still, do you think that's lack of education on both sides? I mean, for me, if there's a rule of etiquette and everyone can hold strong to that rule of etiquette, then what does it matter? The body is the body, right?
Yeah.
It's how people behave and their characters when they're together should be more concerned about than, you know, whatever their body's doing, right?
That's what I say. I mean, your behavior should be what matters, like who you are as a person, and are you a naturist, and if you can be respectful and abide by the rules, like why shouldn't you be welcome?
Exactly.
And, yeah. But yeah, you know, a lot of the clubs are like still so focused on like male female couples, and they think that like I just don't think it's the right approach anymore to trying to like fix the gender imbalance at clubs, you know, because they don't want to be like quote unquote overrun by single men. But I think like
there's an underlying fear then that if these people come in, it might get altered from then the rules from where it is and bent into something else, then is what it sounds like more so.
Yeah, I mean, they want a gender balance, and there's also like a general suspicion of single men that, you know, they're not going to behave appropriately. And you know, I had so many single men come to our events as an organization, and like most people like knew how to behave themselves. Like we had very few instances of having to remove somebody. And when somebody does like do something inappropriate, like harass somebody else, like usually it's a guy, yeah, but like most people just, they know how to behave. And like I think clubs need to do more to ask themselves, like, why don't we attract more women? Why aren't women wanting to come to our facility? And like sometimes that's just as simple as the way that they are marketing and advertising themselves, because I still see clubs that are like using pictures of thin, pretty, young, perfect looking models in their pictures.
Yeah.
Who are you trying to attract with these pictures? What, like, you just want more men? Is that what you like, men looking for hot chicks? Is that what you want? I don't know what you're doing.
So true.
I agree. That's why I definitely promote everyone on our body, every body shape on our beach, right? And that, because I think we want to be clear and make it safe for, you know, women. A, you're accepted here. B, there's every type of woman here. And C, we're going to make sure, you know, the men are in check. They're always in check.
Yeah, that's all important. I mean, this is actually part of like why we had started an organization, because the national organizations have not like done enough to really promote or like enforce the level of acceptance. Like they don't do anything to clubs that are discriminating, and they don't like actively encourage clubs to accept everybody. Like they're not like, oh, you can be a promoted like 100% nudist club in our listings if you are inclusive and accept everybody. Right. But they had always taken the approach of like, well, we can't tell other people how to run their business. Yes, you can.
You can help guide them. Yeah.
You can have rules for people to be part of your network. And if they don't follow those rules, they don't get to be part of your network. Like,
here's the boundary. If you operate within it, you can come and play it. You know, we can all get along in the sandbox.
Yeah, there's definitely other people. I know that there are other people too in NR and like TNS, like see that things need to change, and that they want to do more to promote acceptance and actually like work with clubs who discriminate and like really actually abide by their own values in this way. So they're slow to catch on, because come on, it's 2018. Like
Well, that's a trend of society anyway. It's kind of like, here's the awakening, but it takes almost a decade for that awakening to actually peak and hit the mass, right? So, and this is really nature is so opposite to the politics we have to deal with in business. That's where I struggle, and it's very hard for me to be on the beach and then have to do the naturist part. And I have to be really careful, because when I wore hard, and I just find commerce is war. And I mean, that's business is war. I mean, these guys are reading the art of war to do business, right? So this is what the state of mind you're dealing with, which is such a conflict from when I'm on the beach, to this, just wow, peace. And I can listen to the waves, and I'm talking to my friends maybe, and, relaxing in the sun. And, it's just everybody's so amicable to be happy to be there, and there's, on occasion you get the conflict, right? On occasion, it's just such a lack of drama compared to, society. And so it's finding that place in between where society has this whole, ideology exactly that's been marketed and it's thrived off of and run off of to make the economy. And then there's us naturists trying to go, well, this is, here's a beautiful world and somehow we've got to fit, and accept and be. And that's what I love about nature, though. It is accepting too. I mean, it has its little inner struggles, but at least they move slow-mo. Like, have you ever seen those videos of trees? They just move slow-mo. So,
yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. I think like naturism should be at the forefront of like the social issues that we're still dealing with now. Like, I think naturism should be like a safe haven for people who find themselves ostracized and discriminated against in the outside world, like we should be, welcoming the LGBT community and promoting ourselves as a place for equality, like even just on a level of gender equality, like, women can come into a nature setting and feel a lot more comfortable than they would in a closed bar, because like I would say, men are respectful, like more respectful in nature's environment a lot of times. And everyone's naked, you're like on an equal level, like women are not posed as like naked hot looking objects next to clothed men. There's not like this power imbalance going on. And women are like seen as human beings, so I definitely like see naturism as something that can help promote feminist ideas, but
I agree. Well, feminists, and I think just an equal balance of ideology. I think for women, it definitely supports, and I see for men, it can support and strengthen them, because I've seen. I mean, that's why I know I'm safe on my beach. I know our beach is kind of smaller, so we kind of know our community. But that was one thing I noticed right away about my community, about the men. There were certain men there who kept an eye, and they kept the other men in check. And some of these other men have never had that. They've never had been in a position to be accountable to other men and how they behave in a safety manner. And for some of them, they don't like it and they end up leaving. And others, they step into it because suddenly they realize the responsibility of being a man on the beach, being a real man on the beach, right? To care for the community, to help protect the community while they're there in nature. And almost like they slip into that natural slot of how we were, what we were really born in the environment for. And that I've seen a lot of beautiful growth in some men by becoming naturists and spending that environmental time at the beach alone and with the community. So it's not, to me, it's so supportive for us all around, I think. Exactly like you're saying, the forefront of our issues, naturism, the ecotherapy can help us so much. Just our psychological mind, never mind when it comes to other issues about just our social way of acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, because naturism can definitely benefit men too in a lot of ways. And like, I've never seen feminism as being anti-men. I know a lot of people like still don't understand what feminism is and think that it means hating men or not caring about men's issues, but that's not it, not to a lot of people. And yeah, I think that's great about your beach. Like, I always say that about a nude beach, that people look out for each other. And it's true of Gunnison also. Like, if people see a woman is like being bothered by a creepy guy, or they see somebody who's secretly taking pictures or video, they will confront that person. And yeah, like people try to help each other out on the beach, and that's really nice. And when there's a community, and it's necessary to some degree, usually, for like naturists to police themselves, because if you often if you don't, how are you going to keep the beach? Because you can't have, like, you don't want criminal activity going on, you don't want sexual activity going on, like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's important. Go ahead, Irene.
We come back to a point where the people on the beach and whatnot, we're all endeavoring to be personally responsible for ourselves, and holding one another accountable to that same standard. And that bodes well for us as a society. Yes, we're kind of all this little group that likes to be natural and naturist, but if we can show how to be responsible for ourselves and help others learn how to do that, then if this can all spread, we're actually helping the world be a better place to live.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a great place to start it.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
I agree. So, because we're coming to the end of our time here, so I guess just one last little thing. I guess the future of naturism. Again, we've talked about the different things, different aspects over the last hour, but what would you like to see the world move towards? And how do you see yourself within that as the world goes that way? We may have lost her connection. Well, if we did, that's okay. This was the nature of naturism, and we had a fabulous conversation with Felicity Jones from she was part of the organization Young Nudist America, which is now no longer running, but you can catch her at Felicity's blog.com, I believe it is. And you can follow what she's doing there. She's, felicitiesblog.com. And you can find out more about her nude beach project that she was doing last year. And she has a great little scoop of whatever is going on, a lot of the important things that are going on in naturism and body confidence movements around the globe. So thanks, Irene, for supporting me today again in this wonderful conversation and learning so much more about naturism. Every time we get together with someone, I'm enjoying it more and more.
Absolutely. The freshness of the younger generation also being involved in their viewpoint is very exciting. And I mean, 100% recycling, awesome. That's something that we can all strive for and learn from them. We need to listen, pay attention, and learn, and that's life.
Definitely. So this is Irene and Jacqueline, and from all the members of the Okanagan Naturist Association, we want you to remember that you are an integral part of nature, that she needs you as much as you need her, and the only way to have a relationship with her is to get outside and be part of her world. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.